My name's Lisa, and this is Izzy, and she's 9 this year. I had her out of work one morning, a motorbike went past and backfired, and she wriggled out of her collar and chased after it and ran out in front of a car and broke her front leg. So she had an operation to put a plate in it to heal it, but she got an infection and it didn't heal. So the only option there was to amputate it.
I'm Jill, I'm from South East London. Basically for me, I started having particular ankle problems. I'd start walking, then after a while the pain in my ankle would be so severe that I'd have to stop walking, and then it progressively got worse and worse and worse. And that scared me.
Came to see Noel, and he had an idea that he hadn't done before, and she had a titanium plate put in and stem cells used to grow it into her skeleton.
I went to the doctors and they gave me a scan, an ultrasound scan, and they said that there was damage on the Achilles tendon. We then went on and basically they said all you can do really is physio. The way they described it to me was my tendons were like, and this is the best way that I could sort of understand it, my tendons were like a bag of spaghetti, and the internal spaghetti was damaged, and therefore that doesn't repair itself. There was a point that you think, oh my God, I'm going to end up in a wheelchair. I had to avoid anything that wasn't solid ground.
Wow.
You couldn't walk down, at the times or cobblestones or anything like that, because I'd lasted such a short amount of time.
Wow.
I'd had to come back again because it was painful.
Yeah.
It was just constantly painful. It was my physio that in the end said, having the stem cell treatment, he said, it's a groundbreaking new thing. Do you want to go and have a talk? And for me, I kind of felt that, what other options have I got?
So they were doing a clinical trial in humans at that point.
Yeah.
And were you one of the first in that cohort?
Yes.
How many years ago was this?
2 years ago,
Right.
It all started.
So what actually happens there is they take bone marrow out of your pelvis,
Yeah.
and in that marrow is the building blocks of life, which we call stem cells.
Yeah.
And you can make those stem cells multiply in the laboratory by giving them the nutrients they need, and then you can re-inject them into the body part you want to grow.
Yeah.
And we call them pluripotential because they have the potential to form whatever.
Yeah.
A bone cell, a tendon cell, even potentially in the future a nerve cell.
Mm-hmm.
So in your case, what they wanted was to make that multi-potential cell become a tendon cell.
Yeah.
And to heal your tendon in such a way that it didn't hurt anymore. So in Izzy's case, what she had was a massive, what we call a defect non-union. So she ended up with a big hole in her bone where the bone had been eaten away by the infection, and it never healed. She was in pain all the time, couldn't walk, pretty much like you.
Yeah.
We went in and we put a honeycomb piece of metal in there, and we took her bone marrow just like you. We took the stem cells out of that bone marrow just like you, and we sprayed it into the metal to grow more bone. And in your case, they injected it into the tendon to grow more tendon.
Yes.
So Izzy and me and you share the way tendons insert on bone.
Right.
In fact, it's almost identical, if not identical.
Right, okay.
And therein lies the reason for one medicine.
I kind of read up on the whole one medicine thing, and it just really struck a chord because, everybody will benefit from it. The animals will and people will, and it's just something that, everybody needs to be aware of so that it can progress and happen. So somebody's got to go first, for everything in life.
I was one of the first people to have it done. I did look into it as much as you possibly can, but it's new. There's only so much research that you can look through. And the first time they used the stem cells was on a horse, and that particular horse was called Dream Alliance, and apparently went on to win the Irish Grand National after the treatment. So if a horse can do it, so can I.
What do you think about if I was to say to you, I have an animal with a disease, in this case a horse, and I'm going to treat that animal with this new treatment. And that animal has very few other choices. So in other words, it either stays in pain or we try a new treatment. And let's say I treat that animal successfully and we win.
Yeah.
That's great for you, and it's great for the animal. What if I said to you the flip side of that coin is, my other option is to take the bone marrow and inject it into a man-made hole or lesion or disease in a tendon in a dog that was purpose-bred for that, inject it and then kill the dog to see what happens. Because right now, that is what happens.
I don't like the idea of that one. So.
Right, so most people wouldn't.
No.
You might get the same data from killing the animal in an experiment or treating the animal in clinical practice. But I think that you find B more palatable.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah.
And I think most of society do as well.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting thing. The anatomy, even though it's much bigger in a horse or smaller in a dog, is remarkably similar to your anatomy. Yeah. And what's fascinating for me to hear you speak is, number one, you didn't know that any treatment that's going into you invariably needs to be tried out on an animal first. And number two, I suspect this is true, you found great comfort from that it had actually been successful.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. As much as you think, oh, an animal, human, the fact that it's worked for an animal, you know, we're not that far apart, really.
We have to provide safe drugs and implants and treatments. We have to do that for the benefit of humanity. Mm-hmm. However, if we could do that by saving a life rather than taking a life,
makes complete sense, yeah.
It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
That's why One Medicine makes sense. We now have the technology to measure the outcome using CT scan and using other sampling technology. So we don't need to kill the animal to get the answer.
Which is, yeah, fabulous. So much more humane, it's without a doubt.
Everybody moves forward together.
Yeah.
Everybody wins. That is One Medicine in real life.
It's no-brainer.
So somebody has to be first, and we may as well do it together.
Well, I've been first, so, and I'm okay, so.
High paw.
Yay!
Great.